Hi everyone, it's Heather Danielle. I'm back with another Spirit Talk. So I really hope that you have loved last week's, which was when we talked about trusting in the universe. Now this week we're actually talking about crystals, which I think is so important to go over right now because I feel like they're really an unused tool that can really help heal us and make us feel better in this crazy time. So it's so funny because you guys might think, oh, Heather knows about everything, but I really don't. And I don't really know much about crystals, so I'm going to learn along with you today from my crystal guru, my friend, my mentor, my everything. Her name is Alexis Prince, and here she is. Thank you so much for joining us today, Alexis.
Thank you for having me. It's super fun to be here.
Yeah, I was like looking over like your website, and it's a little bit about you, and it says you're an RMT and a CCH. What is that?
Yes. Reiki master teacher and a certified crystal healer. Basically, I specialize in Reiki, crystal, and sound healing therapies, which focus a lot on aura and chakra work. Do a lot of that, and I'm currently working on my ACM, which is Advanced Crystal Master. So working on it, I'm about halfway there, pretty excited about that. So.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So as you can tell, she definitely knows her stuff. And what I forgot to tell you too is that me and Alexis go back. And it was so funny because as soon as you bring it up, remember when you did that crystal healing on me? When we had like the crystals on me? Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
What is that?
That's how it goes. Well, that is part of a session. I mean, in my sessions, I work on aura. The first thing I'm going to do is come in and feel your aura, all the different layers, and work on that. And then I go through and check the chakras and see how they're spinning. How's the energy wheel spinning? And then from there, I put on crystals right on the body because you want to bring the crystal into your energy field at certain points, and it helps to bring that energy into balance. And so sometimes we'll be working and I might find that one area is really, really clogged. I may actually do a crystal grid right on the body as well as under the table, and then I continue to work through and work on that. So it's a really powerful way to work. And sometimes, you know, someone might be so out of sorts that they need to be beside them instead of on them. So I work very much in tune with what a person specifically needs and is comfortable with. But it was amazing for you, right?
It was like an out-of-body experience. And this is not what I had planned to talk about right now, but the thing is that so many people have heard of Reiki, but not a lot of people have had Reiki with the crystals. And to me, it was like, oh, like, so I definitely recommend it to them.
Yeah, and I do my sessions a little different because I use sound as well. So I use bowls and I use tuning forks, and I constantly am checking the chakras to see what's going on. You know, are they moving? Are things flowing, or is something jammed? And the end of my session or near end, I go into some Reiki, and then we go through and balance and work on polarity and seal everything up, and you're good to go. So it's an incredible experience.
It still is something that I've always remembered. It's definitely not the typical healing, you know what I mean, when you bring the crystals involved, you know. And so we have so much to talk about with the crystals and everything. I just want to reminisce, and I have to tell everyone that's watching right now, because I have like my students whom I love and adore, and you're a psychic medium, you're a certified psychic medium, right? And
Yes.
and you guys, Alexis was with me the first time I ever connected to spirit. Me and Alexis sat in the same circle for a few years, and so she has seen how I grew. She was already good to go. So just like you, if you're having that kind of, oh my gosh, why am I not, hearing spirit? How come I'm not farther along? Just know, like, it'll come with time and practice, right, Alexis?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that was an honored experience being in that circle. It just benefited so much. And met awesome people that I'm still connected to, many of them. So
but you also do online circles? Are you starting that?
We're doing it via Zoom. I teach here in California, and with this shelter in place for another forever, my students are just like, we have to do this. So we're doing them on Zoom. It's a little You know, it's somewhat challenging because I really want my students to feel each other's energy, to bring their hands in. Um, yeah, but it's a great exercise in distance healing and helping them to really learn about how that works, you know, entrainment and how that works. So it's
Yes.
pretty cool.
And I always tell my students too, you have to learn from different teachers and everything. So I'm going to make sure that I put Alexis's link in. So, you know what I mean? Maybe you can pop over to my online circle, go to Alexis's. The more you practice, the more it's just going to flourish. So
Absolutely. And you always pick up a little something different, you know?
isn't that the truth? Oh my gosh. Just one little thing can really help. You know, just like one little stone, right? No.
Absolutely.
So I actually do. Yes. Okay, and so I know we're gonna get into some stone stories, but one story that I've always told was I was doing a psychic fair down in Virginia, and I grabbed my citrine because I heard that it helped out with mediumship. But it was so funny when I got to my table, my citrine was gone, and I had my hematite. And then I was like, oh, I don't know about this, but oh my gosh, the readings were amazing. And what I think it is that hematite's grounding, isn't it? So I think that it really helped ground me and kept that balance.
Yes, absolutely. That's what you do want. You want to have your foundation and being grounded so that everything from your, you know, solar plexus up chakra wise can handle all that energy, because we really deal with a lot when we're dealing with that type of energy. So yeah, hematite's spectacular.
Oh, and it was so funny when I got to my car that night, the citrine was sitting outside of my door of my car. And it had not been there when I got out because I looked everywhere and I could not find it. So I know that was spirit stepping in. And believe me, I definitely needed grounding. You know what I mean? It was like 6 hours of nonstop reading. I was like, I need to ground.
You can count on spirit to take crystals they feel you don't need anymore. And they'll give them back to you.
Do they?
Yeah. Oh yeah, yes. They'll disappear all the time. Drives me crazy, but it is true. They will just disappear and you'll be like, I had it on my desk, where did it go? You know, my first check is which cat has it. You know?
Okay.
So if my cats don't have it, then I just kind of wait and then it'll just show up again. Like right now I have a Larimar missing.
Oh. Okay, so that's really great to know. So if you have like a crystal that comes up missing and you can't find it, just know that it's missing for a reason, right?
It's missing for a reason.
It's not serving you right now. Now, this is a question that, you know, I didn't think I was going to have, but what about when a crystal breaks? Because I've been seeing that a lot. Like you might actually have like a long quartz or something like that that actually breaks. Do you know what that means, if anything?
Yep, you get 2.
You get 2?
Yeah,
just in case.
I would absolutely keep it. I had that happen. I was so upset about it, which was ridiculous, but I had a fluoride tower and they were thin and I just really loved them. And my cat knocked it over and broke it. And I was just like, oh man, because I don't like to glue them. Like glue is just not the right thing on something so natural.
Oh.
And then I realized, you know, I heard, you know, I'm a lapidary artist and I heard cab the top. And I was like, cab the top, great idea. And the thing that's awesome about it is I learned that I could cab the top of these towers, which is awesome. And it was fluorite, which is great for pain. And I had just sprained my ankle. So I cabbed the top, which means making it smooth like a cabochon stone. Mm-hmm. And I sat that, just rubbed it on my ankle. And the next day I had no sprained ankle.
So you can literally rub crystals on areas of your body?
Absolutely.
Mind blown. So
yeah, you have to think of it like this. Like say I have this rose quartz. If I have it in a bowl in my room, it's going to put energy out into the room. You know how you walk into a room and you're like, oh, it feels so good in here, right? Well, if you have a lot of crystals in a room, it can do that depending on the combination. Like I have in my living room, rose quartz, amethyst, and clear quartz. And then I have a huge grid with black tourmaline, which helps to transmute uncomfortable energy. And so when people come in there, they're like, wow, this feels really good. And it's because the rose quartz, the amethyst make them feel calm, but also make them feel empowered. It doesn't take any of their energy away. And the quartz will heighten that. It amplifies the energy. And then the black tourmaline makes it calm. But if I take a stone like rose quartz, say I'm upset or I'm starting to freak out because I can't be in sheltering in place another 5 minutes,
Yes.
I can take this, and you have to think about your aura, okay, your biological energy fields, proven scientifically. And I take this stone and I bring it into that field, I'm going to feel it. And if you're sitting calm, take off all your other jewelry, and you bring that stone in through your aura, and then maybe to the high heart or your solar plexus or your heart chakra in your left hand, and just kind of hold it there and relax. And then focus your concentration on the stone in your hand, and you're going to start to really relax. You're going to start to feel the energy of that stone. And that's really how, like, I know one of your questions was, should we have them in a bowl or should we have them in a piece of jewelry? And that's kind of the difference. One is going to exude energy into a room and make the room feel a specific way, depending on the crystals. And the other one is very personal support. Like, I always wear pieces right here on my heart. And so for me, I can really feel the energy getting in through there. That's a lymph node right there. And I can really feel that. Feels really good to me. Left hand, the science is in polarity.
This is the only one that I have within reach.
That's good. That's powerful stone. So if you're holding it in your left hand, that's your intake. That's your polarity. This is intake. This is output. Okay, sending and receiving. And some people have a school of thought that if you're left-handed, blah, 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 and that's fine. Totally respect it. You might feel it differently yourself. You should always go with what you feel. But the science says this is how polarity works. Like, think of a plug, or a battery. And so this is your receiving hand, your left hand. Okay, and then this one, like, say I'm really empathic and I'm going to the grocery store and I cannot handle it, it's too much. I might carry a shungite or a black tourmaline in my right hand. I'm going to be sending that energy out. I'm going to be protecting myself and pushing energy out so that, I can still see what's going on in people's energy, but I'm not going to have to feel it. I don't have to experience it. So that's kind of the difference. Things like that. And like this crystal you're holding, when you have a geode or a tower or what have you, like, that's going to push energy out all over the place. You got that from me. Yes, I actually recognize the stone.
I think the day that I had the Reiki that went out of my mind to the crystals, then you gave this to me, didn't you?
Yeah. And that's actually a stalactite in the middle of that. Those we slice for jewelry and make into what are called crystal flowers. So that's a pretty spectacular piece.
Yeah, so thank you. I got it from someone who was amazing. Oh my gosh.
Energy out into the room in all the different directions of those points. Like something like this is smoky. Natural smoky. So the thing about a natural smoky versus, I don't have any right here, but like a point that you buy, like a little tower that's been cut out of a big slab. Like, actually there's one in my water. So you see that crystal? I don't know if you can see that.
Yes.
So
do you love those?
Giant slab. We can't tell which way the energy is going in that stone without Kirlian photography. But this one, since it's natural, we know it has an apex that goes up the center and comes out, and we know the energy is going this way. So if I point that at my hand, I can feel its energy. Okay? So it's really pretty incredible. So if I have this in a room pointing like this, I know the energy is going that way. If I have a bunch of tumbles in a bowl, it's going to send energy out in all directions, and it's going to be calmer because it's dispersed in different directions rather than, shooting out of a laser.
Oh, yes. Yes. You had the laser one pointed in my crown chakra that day. So I was like, I'm going insane.
It's actually pointed the other way. We point them this way.
You pointed the other way. Oh, okay.
Yeah, you still do get a lot of energy.
Yes. Okay, and for you guys who don't know, like, Alexis is so sensitive, like, with the energies of the crystals, and I feel like, and even in our houses, they're so amazing. Can others get sensitive with their crystals too? Like, can they practice feeling?
Yes, and the way to do do it is kind of like I was saying before. Take off all your jewelry. If you have other crystals in the room, like if you're laying on your bed or whatever, get them out of there. Because
Okay.
when you have one crystal around and you're not able to tolerate it, which most people aren't, it creates what's called crystal chaos. And then you get kind of like crazy and you get headaches and you feel agitated. So start with something that really resonates with you. If you're just really drawn to a stone, start with that. I never recommend working with just clear quartz, although clear quartz is by far one of my favorite stones. I think it's just amazing. It's an amplifier. So I think the easiest way to explain it, and I do explain it like this all the time, is say I'm going somewhere to an event or something and I'm nervous and there's some people there that I'm uncomfortable with. If I just carry, okay, it wouldn't be this big, but if I just carry a, I know it's a big thing. Hey, home goods, $3, okay?
Oh my gosh.
I'm not $3 home goods. But anyway, if I had, just a clear crystal point, it's going to amplify my aggravation. And when they come near me, people who I might be feeling aggravated by, it'll also amplify that energy coming from them. So I'm going to make the whole situation work. But if I took a rose quartz and I maybe wore a rose quartz, or I had it in my pocket with like a tumbled clear quartz, the clear quartz will amplify the energy of the rose quartz, which will exude love, compassion, calmness. It will help to, communicate in a more thoughtful manner. And that way, when people approach me, they would be a little nicer and they would sense from me only calm and not me being aggravated or uneasy in a situation. So that's kind of, when you're pairing crystals, something to be, kind of mindful of.
Does a clear quartz, does it also absorb the negative energy and keep it in the stone?
Well, it's not that it necessarily absorbs energy. It's kind of hard to explain. Let's see. So crystals are perfect. They are, on a molecular level, they are perfection. And they have something called a dominant oscillatory rate, okay? It's coined by the Hibiscus Moon Crystal Academy, but it basically means its frequency, how frequently the sound moves, okay? So rose quartz is going to be like beep, beep, beep. And something like this is going to be like beep, 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 right? So if I have this quartz and it's perfect, and it's perfect because, one, it has one dominant oscillatory rate. It has one. People have tons. We're like a collection of DOR, okay? Our heart has one, kidneys have one, our liver has one, and so we're a wreck, right? All the time. But the crystal's just sitting there going, yeah, that's nice, human. I'm a crystal. So we can set intention on a crystal. And also, in all our devices, right? And so when they use a crystal in a device, they know a specific location in the crystal and the particular angles to cut it on, and they pull out these little tiny pieces, and that's what holds all your information, right? So a crystal can store information. And so when you want to work with a crystal, I always say this, and sometimes people really don't like me for saying it, but I have 7 certifications, and one of them was strongly science-based, and it really convinced me. Here's the thing. They do need to be cleaned if they're dirty. Okay, so they're sitting around the house, they get dusty, wash them off, just so they look nice for you. Do I wash a crystal when I get a new one? I do, but it's for me. I want to bond with it. I want to spend a little time, and I'm just kind of hanging with it. They don't need to be cleansed, and they don't need to be charged. Moon and stellar events do not affect the crystal. If you have the crystal in water, those things will affect the water around the crystal, and that's how we make elixirs, okay? Part of that.
Yes, your elixirs. That's so cool. Just to name elixirs to me just makes it seem like so much cooler. So do you still make those?
Yes. So what I do is I have sacred geometry grids. And I have this big thing called a Berkey, and they're great, by the way. And I purify the water, so it takes out 78 toxins. It takes out fluoride and arsenic as well. I added a couple of filters. So I start with that, and then I build a grid. I choose the stone based on the type of elixir, okay, that I want to make. And so some stones go in the water, some can't. And I perform a ceremony based on sun, moon, or solar event, not for the crystal, but for the vibration in the water. So like homeopathy, if you take a homeopathy remedy and you test it, it's water. But if you test its vibrational frequency, you'll see there's vibration. And the same with a gem elixir. So like a little drop of a giant mother from a mother batch will make very powerful elixirs. So I mix that with essential oils and flower and herbal remedies that we make ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then we play the bowls and we do a whole big Reiki thing on every batch. And plus they're in this room, so they get it a lot.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'll make sure too that I put a link to your website too, in case they're interested in elixirs, because you know I loved mine. You definitely set me up with the elixir and all the goodies, and it was so awesome getting into something like that. So
yeah, they're really pretty wonderful, and you can pour them in your diffuser, you can pour them in your bath. They're really very beneficial.
But you had also brought up something else that actually wasn't on the questions, just in case anyone's confused. Crystal grids. So that's where you actually put the crystals, right, in a certain way. Do you want to explain that a little bit?
So basically we start with sacred geometry. So it may be the flower of life, Metatron's cube, that type of thing. And the grid has to reflect the intention of, you know, the sacred geometry has to reflect the intention of the grid. So I don't know if you can see it, but I have one. On the top of that case over there, there's a grid.
Oh, yes, on top of it. On top of it, I see one of the tall ones sticking out.
Yes, the towel has the grid printed on it. And it is an infinity sign because that's a grid for prosperity. And so it has a large citrine in the center, and then I have some jade, and so I have up there. And clear quartz. So with grids, it's always best to stick to like 3 stones because again, we're talking about, you know, crystal chaos. A lot of people make them much more ornate for display, and it's not to say that they won't work, but less is always more with this energy. And so I start with the grid, and I chose the infinity grid because that is related to prosperity, and then the stones are related to prosperity. So we build it in a certain formula from the inside out, and then we state an intention. And from there, we work with energy, just rubbing those palms together, right? 40 to 60 seconds, and send the grid the energy.
Oh,
now,
yes.
If there's any extra, you take that for yourself because you don't want to wait.
I love that. We're going to have to do like a whole nother thing on like grids or whatever. Or do you actually have classes on grids? Or
Absolutely do. Absolutely do. I have one on the calendar now that's a self-love crystal grid ceremony workshop. And so we go through different processes where there's questions. Everybody downloads a sheet and you keep your own. It's like a journal page. You don't have to share it if you don't want to. We do different exercises. Then there's a meditation on just healing for self-love. And we build the grid together. You can download the grid, you know, pattern, and it gives you instructions on how to build it at home as well. So it's fun. It's really fun.
And I hope like everyone can notice too, like how you know your stuff too. It's not like you're like a typical crystal teacher, because I actually took one of your crystal classes. I'm not sure if you remember that. It was like, whoa, you know what I mean? It was like so many of the things that you don't hear all about. You know what I mean? You don't hear about a lot of the scientific things that go behind the crystals. A lot of it, like you have just spoken to us about. That's really cool. Yeah.
It really makes a difference because it's really hard otherwise to be like, someone told me I need this amethyst, I don't know what to do with it, it's on the shelf, you know. And so a lot of what I try to do is explain why it works and how it works. And so we have classes for all of that. And because it takes a while to explain, but it makes sense because it's all backed in science. Everything has a scientific reference that can be looked up and, you know, researched even deeper. So They're pretty spectacular.
Oh my gosh. And it's so funny how you were just talking about setting the intention for the crystal grids, because, you know, everything that we talk about is really about setting the intention of what you want the stone to use for, like you already said, intention for the crystal grids, you know what I mean? Even when doing healing with the crystals.
Absolutely. And you really need to be careful with, you know, how you're feeling emotionally and physically, and what stones you're working with. Because like I was saying, a lot of people wear crystal points, clear points, and they're really aggravated. And so one thing to do is, like, especially if you're wearing, if you like are a layerer, like I know it looks really cool, but if you're someone who layers lots of pieces and you're feeling really aggravated, maybe you're getting headaches, you're not sleeping well, try and notice how you feel when you take them off. And when you take them off,
Yes.
put them somewhere where they're not around you, right? And see how you're feeling. Because sometimes you go like, oh, and then you start going like, you know, kind of thing. And you're wiping, like when you come home from somewhere and you're like, oh, that was horrible. You're wiping it out of your aura and not even thinking about it. So if you like to wear a lot of pieces, take note and like maybe like wear one day, see how it feels, add another one, see how it feels, and see if there's changes, note things, especially if you're getting headaches. Headaches are really common for crystal chaos. And one thing I like to do is take a selenite wand. It's a big one.
Oh, I remember that one.
I use these in my class. They're a little more friendly. And just kind of pass it through your aura. You're just close, because that closest one is, you know, usually the one you feel the most. It has your blueprint and, you know, crud from your day. And you just kind of bring it all the way down and tap the ground in case you're grounding every time you do that. And it's amazing how this feels. So this stone will help to reduce an aggravated energetic vibration in your aura. So that if you are wearing a lot of stuff and you're feeling cruddy, that'll help. And so with water, take a bath, take a shower. If you're feeling really cruddy and then you take off all your jewelry and go, oh, I feel so much better, then keep trying to clear that energy.
Yeah, look at that. I'm not even wearing my rings today.
Yeah, I don't wear them a lot.
Yeah. And what kind of stone was that you said? And you can help clear
selenite. It's selenite.
Selenite. Okay.
Very soft. You don't want to put it in water. Same with salt. This is a myth. Don't be dumping salt on your skin.
Will that also help, like if you're empathic, you know what I mean, and you're really like absorbing energies, or you're really, really sensitive to a lot of the stuff that's going on the news and that kind of thing?
Yes, especially black tourmaline. Okay, so think anytime you're trying to deal with energy that doesn't resonate with yours, because scientifically there's no positive and negative energy, there's just energy. And so when you meet an energy that to you feels like it's negative, it just means it's vibrating at a different frequency than you are. And so these stones will help there to be some entrainment, because if I have a C note in one octave on one tuning fork and a C note in another octave on a different tuning fork, and I hit one of them, they're going to entrain, meaning that they're both going to ring at the same frequency. So the same thing happens when you have negative energy and you want to feel better, or you want to move that energy away from you. So think black stones, okay? Black tourmaline, shungite. Shungite is just an amazing filter. It'll actually pull the ions in positive and it'll send them out.
Wow.
Feel better. So yeah, it's really incredible. In front of your computers, think black crystals, okay? Onyx, Apache tear, shungite, black tourmaline. Any black stone is going to help with that energy, that EMF coming off of your computer radiation. So that's really good. Also, I have some stones here for dealing with anxiety and fear, because really that's what we're dealing with. I mean, this is such an over the top, you know, they're calling it biblical proportions, because if you think of it, it is. I mean, this is global. We're all home. I mean, how weird is that? And so it's terrifying. You know, when are we going to get our life back? Now they're giving us here a date of April 20th, right? Or the president saying, I don't know, who decides? This is crazy. But stones for that, I have a downloadable document that I put up for you. But, spirit quartz, which looks like a little cactus.
What is that?
Spirit quartz.
Spirit?
It's basically an amethyst that grows. They also call these barnacles. And so spirit quartz, spirit quartz, very cool.
I'm writing this stuff down.
blue lace agate.
I do have that.
That's a good one. Rose quartz.
I love my rose quartz.
Lepidolite.
Okay.
Lepidolite. If you're having sleep issues, lepidolite.
Lepidolite.
Lepidolite. That's a nice stone. It's purple and mica, lots of mica in it. It's a very soft stone. Smoky quartz. Okay, this is just a little tumble. You saw the big guy.
Oh, yeah.
I love smoky. Smoky's one of my favorites. And then this is a natural citrine. You're all going, that's not citrine, it's not orange.
Yes.
Okay, so when you see citrine that's orange, it's baked. It's typically amethyst or smoky quartz that was not of a favorable color, and so they bake it. And you know, when they form naturally in the earth, it's baked by the earth. And so a natural citrine is going to be like this.
Wow, I had no idea.
And it's not to say that there aren't uses for baked citrine, but it is not the same stuff. It's not the same energetic.
Wow. Totally different. Oh my gosh. Yes. And so now, to be honest, like it kind of seems like a little overwhelming because you have brought up so many stones, some of them I've never even heard of, but like you actually do something that's called a crystal prescription.
Yes. And so, yeah, crystal prescription is where someone will come to me and say, what crystals do I need to use? And I'll be like, well, what do you want to use them for? So it just depends on, like, do you have an intention? Is it something emotional that you're dealing with that you need some help with? Is it a physical ailment? Though we don't treat people like a doctor, we know things like if I have a cancer patient, no green stones, because green stones tend to promote growth. We don't want to do that. So that's why a lot of times we ask about medical information, because some stones are good or not good for certain situations. But like how now we're dealing with a lot of fear or anxiety, I would take that information and then send the person a questionnaire. Now the questionnaire is emotional questions. They're based on chakra level input, and that gives me an idea of how your energy centers are balanced or out of balance. And so then I can start to pick stones. I never say, okay, this person's root chakra is out, so they've got to use a carnelian. Why? Because there's like an unlimited number of red stones, right? So I'm going to look at ones that also work with other things going on for a person, and then I'm going to ask them, here's these 5 stones, which one is right for you? Because we know it's right for you. And so from there, we put together the prescription. I give a grid, a bath formula, a mojo bag, ideas for what to do around the house. Like, so if they're having nightmares, we might want to do a grounding grid and protective grid, maybe under the bed or at the posts, you know, things like that. It's really very much centered on what is the need.
Okay, and I'm going to put that link on the website too, because I think that'd be really cool for people to reach out and be like, hey, I need specific stones, you know what I mean? And then you can also send them a little package or whatever with the stones. Do you do that? Okay, so if you're comfortable with that, if not, I think that even reaching out to you and, you know what I mean, from your website and asking you, you know what I mean, your recommendations, getting that crystal prescription, you know, I think that's, oh my gosh. And so now the only problem is I feel like we're gonna have to make a part 2 now, go into part 2 because we're running out of time and we still have more questions.
Yes, we do.
See, I told you, we never know what's gonna come up, you know. Please trust what spirit wants to have said. So you guys have, someone out there was meant to hear what was said today.
Absolutely.
So definitely let us know what you guys learned, you know, put in the comments, you know what I mean, reach out to me and Alexis, you know, letting us know how you like this video. And then in the next one we're going to do in part 2, we're really going to go over the questions that everyone had sent me. You know, we're going to talk all about like the crystal jewelry, what to wear, what not to wear with it, and some more juicy other questions. So, so I'm going to say, I'm going to sign off now and say goodbye to you guys, and we're going to get started on part 2 for you.